Okay, so now we're here with the angle side angle congruence theorem. All right, if two angles and their included, we'll talk about what this means later in a bit, side. So if two angles and their included side of one triangle are congruent to two corresponding angles, and their included side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. All right. So let's talk about what included means. Here's an example. Obviously, those angles are congruent. Those angles are congruent. So we have two angles, an angle, an angle. And then included is a fancy way of saying between. All right. Side. All right. This is important. Students like to goof this up. Included means between. And the combination of all these letters are very specific. This is specifically the angle side angle theorem. All right. Why? Just how this side is between the angles, this S is between the A's. All right. Just how we write it out and how it visually is, how it spatially is the same. It matches up. This is specifically the angle side angle theorem because the side is between both the angles. All right. That's incredibly important. All right. And then remember, we have a huge punchline. Vertical angles may not be marked congruent, but we know they are congruent because of the vertical angle congruence theorem. All right, so you might see something like this. All right, I didn't do a great job of drawing. What am I talking about? I did a phenomenal job drawing this. All right, and this might even say, well, like this angle and this angle are congruent, and this side are congruent. So it might give you an angle and a side. But what we have to do, what we have to be really good at is saying, well, these two angles are also congruent. Why? These are vertical angles. So there's a lot we have to be really good at. Reflexive property, vertical angles. We've used midpoint a lot in this class. So this is kind of like a summary of stuff we've used throughout the year. All right. So now we're going to complete this green box right here. Is there enough information to determine if these triangles are congruent by angle side angle? So if we just focus on this, we have an angle, we have an angle. Also, we have this shared side. So again, we have to be so good at identifying this shared side. It's yes. Hopefully there's no typos in this box. So here, what we got, this is later on, we'll see that these are congruent, but we can't say that they're congruent by angle side angle. They're going to be congruent by a different thing called SAS. So this one we can't use angle side angle. We only know one angle. So this one's an unfortunate no. All right. Here we have an angle, we have a side, OMG. What else do I know? I'm not sure. Psych. I know that this is also an angle because we have vertical angles. So again, we have the angle, side, angle. This side is included. It's between both angles, just how the S is between both A's. So the answer is yes. Sweet. Here, ooh, what a doozy. All right, this is basically the same thing. Again, see how 3 and 4 are basically the same problem. It's all about repetition. We have an angle, we have a side. This is another right angle. Why? We have these vertical angles right here. Kind of, oops, what's going on? Here we go. Kind of did a bad job of drawing that. but we have another angle, so this one would be yes. And then 5 and 7, or 5 through 7, is what additional information would we need to say that these triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle. Again, we have an angle, side, an angle, a side. We need one more piece of information, so we need R and M to be congruent right there. Sweet. Let me talk about something. You don't have to write this down, but notice how if we used S and L, these two angles, notice how this side then would be non-included because it's not between both angles we're talking about. All right, and we're going to elaborate more on that in the future. But that's why it's not that one. Let me put the right answer back. Okay. This one right here, notice that we have an angle. It's not marked, but we can guarantee that these two angles are congruent by vertical angles. So we have another angle. Now I just need a side, and remember my side must be between both angles, so it has to be this one right here. TS and whatever this one is, LS. All right, or ST and SL. And then last one, angle, side, angle. Now notice, this is kind of crazy. We have a right angle, all right. We have a side, all right. Notice how, like, let's just go through this. If C is congruent to F, I have an angle, and then a non-included side. So that doesn't work. X. Erase all that junk. Well, what happens if we do A and D? Again, I have an angle, and a non-included side. That doesn't work either. That's a side. That's not. So it's not none of the above and not possible. Well, technically, it would be none of the above. That's kind of quirky, whoever made this. Anywho, all right, that's that. So next and last, we got the angle, side. Stay tuned for more.